Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 23. So in the last episode, we got our team set up for yet another season, and our team actually looks a lot better than I expected. I don't really know why the reasoning is that we're actually a good-looking team in a sense. Like, we do have guys dropping off, which they could continue to drop off throughout the season, which is a bit concerning, like Perrott and Clackson. The two of those guys are probably on their last seasons, which is concerning considering Clackson is now into an exact AHL top 6, so I could see him easily dropping into the 70s this season, which means somebody like Jansevsky might have to take over that second line spot, at least in that third line spot, depending on how much he drops. Also, Perrott could potentially drop quite a bit because he's now an exact bottom 6, so that's a bit concerning. However, our defensive core is probably the best defensive core we've had since we've won our Stanley Cups, based on chemistry and also overall wise, as Aldrich Klepis has jumped to the NHL at 20 years old. He's already got a role of a top 4 defenseman, which is great, and he should be a good shutdown defenseman to have next to Ryan Danner. Also, Tulipov, who was a, believe, 6th round pick, 98th overall. I don't know if I made this selection or if the AI did, but regardless, we got a really good defenseman in here as well. So basically, we got a pretty good young core in a sense too on that defensive front. Like, Danner and Bouwmeester have been here for quite some time, but Klepis, Smith-Pelly, Tulipov, and Hauser are all younger than 24, or 24 and younger, I should say. So that is a great sign for at least teams to come. Maybe this team will be a bit better of a defensive team down these last few years that we have of this franchise mode. And then we still got our 1-2 punch of Pusher, who's still signed for one more year after this, and Novikov, who is a pending UFA, I think, this season. So goaltending might change up next season because we do have a goalie in the system. But other than that, I think our team is looking pretty good, and I just hope that this isn't the last time we get to see Avery, Perrott, and Miles Clackson. Like, I hope they come back for another season, but if both of them retire, at least it gives us a little bit more flexibility cap-wise. But I think the future of this team is still bright because Keith and Hartnell, these two guys probably shouldn't retire in this series. Keith might, but Hartnell definitely I don't think will because he's only 31. But there is good young guys on this team, like Gamble, for example. Bobkov's still decently young. Jansevsky, Vico. Like, there is a good future still for this team, even if we end up losing Perrott and Clackson. But I don't know how long this team is going to be competitive and making the playoffs, because this might be our last chance at winning a Stanley Cup again. So anyways, there is that, and let's get into the season simulation and see how this team does. Hopefully we make it back to the playoffs because of the fact that it's probably Perrott and Claxton's last year. But if we miss, at least we might be able to get a good prospect in for this team. But we would have to have a pick in the top 5 to do so, because if we have like a pick that's like 15th overall, we're probably going to get a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman. And obviously those two type of things won't be able to make our lineup quite quickly. Like, we need like an elite prospect if we want them to get into our lineup in the next like season or so. So if we want to be a bad team, we need to be as terrible as possible. If we want to make the playoffs, obviously, we need to get off to a good start. So it should be interesting to see how this team does. Let's get into the preseason and see how this team does preseason-wise, and then we will see if we're ready to go for the start of the season. I think we should be a playoff team because the chemistry is decent. Joe Thornton's been a good coach for this team as well. As long as Perrott and Claxton don't drop off dramatically throughout the season, I think we should be a playoff team. Now, how far of a playoff team are we going to be? I'm not too sure. But if Claxton drops off a lot, like I said, Jansevsky probably will get moved to the second line. And Vico might end up getting moved into the top 6 if Perrott drops off a lot as well, because the two of those guys should be able to help produce in our top 6, and they're both still relatively young. So 5-3 in the preseason. I just want to take a look at player stats from the preseason. Jeez, okay. Yeah, I think this is Perrott's last year, just based on the production from that preseason. That's kind of outrageous. I'm already going to offer Perrott a contract extension, even though we don't know about his future, if he's going to retire or not. I just want to make sure we have him locked up in case. So he still wants 2 years at 12.5. I'm going to give him a 1-year deal at 12.5. See if he'll accept that. He probably will. The only thing is we also have Bobkov to re-sign. He's going to be pricey as well. I might as well just give these guys contract extensions already. These two are pretty important. At least with the RFAs, we have kind of some leeway a little bit. But I think Bobkov and Perrott are the main guys that need contracts right now. Especially Bobkov, considering he's the future. But Perrott, Obviously, we want him to retire with this club, and I do not want to lose him into free agency if he ends up heading there, if he doesn't retire. So, yeah, Perrott had a great preseason. Keith Hartnell as well. Not that the preseason matters too much. Clackson was a -8 in 8 games in the preseason. Hopefully, he's not that bad defensively in the regular season. And Pusher was absolutely terrible in the preseason. So, hopefully those kind of flip in the regular season. Because if they don't, then that's going to be kind of problematic. Okay, what is our team looking like for the start of the season? Is any overalls change? Bobkov renews his contract with us. Perrott has yet to renew his contract. But Bobkov has re-signed for an extra year, which is good because I do need him back. I think he's the perfect player to have in our lineup for the future. We're just waiting on Perrott to see if he'll accept, because maybe he's thinking of calling it quits at the end of the year. I'm okay with losing probably Bomeister or something like that, because we do got guys in the system. At least we have leeway with Jansevsky and Leeson. Sabern, I'm okay with losing. Clackson is also in the last year of his contract, but I feel like he's definitely going to retire just based on the fact he's the exact AHL top 6, so I think I'll probably just wait on him. But obviously he's an important piece to bring back if he decides not to retire as well, because he was a really good second round steal for this club. So anyways, let's do a month at a time and see how this team does. I think we should be a playoff team, but at the same time, I really don't know, because sometimes you can make the playoffs with a terrible roster. Okay, Perrott accepts that contract extension, so we'll see if he ends up retiring now because of that. Because if he retires, then we don't have to pay him that money. But if he does retire, then it's going to kind of suck. But off to a little bit of a weird start to the season, 5-4. Not really liking that too much. Keith is leading the team in points right now. Let me take a look at goalie stats right now. I know it's still early in the season and we could all of a sudden go on a tear, but I just want to take a look at the goalies. Both goalies not doing too hot. How about the defensive core? How's the defensive core doing plus-minus wise? It's only the top pairing that's minus. It's not bad. We'll keep it the same. It may be just a little bit of a weird start. Like 5-4 is not terrible, I guess. Even though the Kraken are 7-1-1, that's kind of crazy. Hopefully we don't have to run into them if we get to the playoffs, because they have won a Stanley Cup recently. So let's see if we have a better month this one, because we probably should all of a sudden get some wins there. There's 3 wins in a row, and then we lose to Buffalo. Okay, a little bit of a kind of a back and forth season. Some good stretches and then some really bad stretches, but if we at least play kind of close to 500, we should be a playoff team. So there you go, 15-8. Okay, we started the breakout through near the end of that month. That's good. That is a pretty good record. We are currently second best in our division, only behind the Flames. Derek Keith is over point per game with 28 points in 23 games. Pretty good. His contract isn't even up for renewal this year, which is good too, because I think he's one of the more underrated players in the series, him and Clackson. Like, Keith doesn't get as much recognition as somebody like Perrott or Jorgensen did with his team. There's like a couple guys that kind of just fly under the radar with this team, so I'm curious to see who ends up making it to our channel Hall of Fame once we end up doing that probably later this summer. Yeah, our team is off to a really good start, 21-9. I like that. Just got to keep on winning these games, and we should be hopefully a playoff team. But hopefully we don't win the President's Trophy, because we know that's a curse. 25-12. Let's see how we're sitting standings-wise. We are still second in our division, only 2 points back of the Flames. And we're 7 points up on that wildcard spot that the Canucks have right now. The last wildcard spot in the West has, the 43 points. So, good spots so far. Keith is at 41 points in 37 games. So, he's maybe on pace for a 80-90 point season, which would be pretty nice. So, it seems like our top 6 is doing well. Let's just continue simulating, because we're winning games. No point on checking stats and making changes. We might as well just keep the team the way it is for now. Hopefully we don't go all of a sudden on a really bad stretch, because that could hurt us for sure. Just got to keep on at least winning a couple of games and losing a couple of games if we want to make the playoffs, I think. Just don't want to lose all of a sudden 7 in a row, because that would not be great. And okay, a winning streak to end the month, 33-16-1. I'm liking this season. We're now top in our division, 3 points up on the Kraken, 5 points up on the Flames. Looking pretty good. Keith is at 57 points now in 50 games, so I think our top line is starting to slow down scoring-wise, but that's okay, because as long as we make the playoffs, I am okay with that. We are currently, let's see, third. Yeah, we're maybe like top 3 in the league right now in the standings, which is kind of a surprise. Like, I expected this team to be a playoff team, but I didn't expect us to be one of the best teams in the entire NHL. We didn't actually take a look at where like Hago signed, but that's okay. We probably won't pay attention to where Hago signed till we get to seeing him in a retirement stage or something like that, or near the end of the series. A little bit of a rough month to start off with, but now we're starting to win games again, which is good, because we don't want to just have a month where we lose every game, obviously. But if we get a couple losses in there, maybe it'll make our chances at winning in the playoffs much better. 39, 22, and 2. We are now third in our division, 2 points back of the Sharks and Kraken, 2 points up on the Flames, who are in a wild card spot, and also 7 points up on the Stars, who are in that last wild card spot. So we're in a pretty good spot in terms of at least making it. Like, if we fall back, we might fall back into a wild card spot. But in terms of making the playoffs, I think we're in a pretty good predicament at the moment. Keith is at 67 points now in 63 games, so good to see him still over point per game. Let's continue simulating. See how we finish off this season. Let's go to the day past the deadline. I don't think we're going to look at the trades that happened just because it's kind of pointless, but I might just to see if there's any former players getting moved. Yeah, I think I'm going to just check anyways, just skim through it. I don't usually check that often in this series, but might as well. Just add a little bit more time to this episode, because this episode will probably go really quickly if I end up not adding something like this to it. So, let's see. Any former players that I recognize, or any players in general that I recognize? Not really, because we're at the stage where it's literally mostly EA generated guys. Yeah, there's nobody that I recognize, I think, out of this mix. Harold Sutter must be like the great-great-grandson of like one of the Sutter brothers that played way back in the day. That's funny. There we go. Okay, so where are we standings-wise still? I think same spot. Yeah, same spot. Yeah, let's continue simulating and go to the end of March and see where we're sitting at the end of March. Hopefully we have a good month here, because obviously March is probably the most important month of this season. Because if we have a bad month, all of a sudden we might not make the playoffs. If we have a really good month, obviously we'll make the playoffs. Which it's looking like, considering we're on a point streak to start off the month of March. Only one loss, and that was in the shootout so far. And there's a regulation loss to Seattle, who was really good, and to Nashville. But yeah, we're definitely making the playoffs. 48, 25, and 4. We are already clinched in terms of making the playoffs, which is awesome. And there is a good chance we hit 50 wins this season, because we do have 5 games left. Let's see if we win all 5 of them, or if we win a couple of them, or whatnot. There's a loss, there's a shootout win, there's a loss, there's a win, there's win 50, and win 51. We actually end up winning the Pacific Division with 106 points, going 51, 27, and 4. That's pretty awesome. Let's advance the day so we can get everybody else simulated. There we go. Yeah, we won our division by 5 points over the Kraken. The Sharks had 100 points as well, and the Flames had 97. I'm kind of concerned about the Kraken falling to second, though, because I think the Kraken are a really good team, so I feel like we might end up getting knocked out in the playoffs quite easily. And damn, Ricardo Hartnell had a 50-goal season. See, that's why we gave him exactly what he was asking for, because obviously we need to have that goal scoring. If we would have lost him last offseason, that would have sucked, but at least he's kind of locked up for the rest of the series now, which is good. So 50 goal season for him. 85 points is not really a lot, but maybe we had some good depth scoring, and maybe that's what helped propel us into a playoff spot. Let's see, entire league-wise, where did we finish? We were the 3rd best team in the NHL, tied with the Nashville Predators, just behind the Florida Panthers and the St. Louis Blues. We were pretty close to winning a President's Trophy. We are the 3rd best offensive team in the league, tied with the top team in St. Louis. And Philadelphia was the best team offensively with 3.74 goals per game. Goals against wise, we were not that great defensively this year, so that's a little bit problematic, but that's okay at the same time. Maybe it'll just return itself on in the playoffs. 3.12 goals against per game. Our power play, 18.9%, is not too bad, actually. I thought it would be much worse than that, but it's kind of mid-table. 4 short-handed goals against. That's not great. 79% on the PK. We had the 2nd worst penalty kill in the entire NHL. Okay, so our PK definitely was the main cause of why our defense was bad. So maybe we need to address our penalty kill. We had 7 short-handed goals, though, which is nice. 23-16 and 2 on home ice. And 28-11 and 2 on the road. So pretty good road record. And we're 5-5 in our last 10 games. Let's take a look at these player stats. See how the rookies and all that did. So yeah, Ricardo Hartnell led the team in points, 50 goals, 35 assists for 85 points. This is his second 50-goal season of his career in the last 4 years. So he has started the breakout quite late into his career, but that's awesome to see another 50-goal season for him. Wasn't expecting him to get another 50-goal season, but he did so. He's kind of one of those guys that I mentioned that kind of fly under the radar in this series. He's got over 1,000 points, and he's played only like 1,100 games, so he's been consistently one of our better players in the series. Is he a Channel Hall of Famer? I don't know. He might just barely miss out on it, but at least for NHL 25 and stuff like that, he'll have like a second year of eligibility to get into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, he's a decently underrated player in the series. Same with Derek Keith, as I mentioned. His potential actually dropped down to an exact top 6, so he actually might retire before the end of the series as well, which is kind of concerning. But his point production has been really good as well. Only 332 goals, but 1,005 assists, 1,300 points in 1,300 games, roughly around. He's been a force. Very good defensively as well. Good playoff numbers. I really like Derek Keith. And then Avery Perrott picked up 40 goals this season at the age of 37. 76 points. He's dropped down to an 83. Oh my goodness, this is so sad to see if this is the last year of his career. He's been a consistent 40-goal scorer. He's 30 goals away from 800 goals, but I don't know if he comes back next season. He might retire. We did give him a contract. He did sign it, but will he come back is the question. Because literally, like, this is one season where he didn't have 40 goals, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 5, 6. Like, his early years, he didn't score that much, as much. But since 2032, so the last 12 years, he's been consistently scoring 40 goals around a season, which is awesome. So yeah, Avery Perrott, probably a Channel Hall of Famer, I would assume. He's over point per game in the playoffs still. Miles Clackson, 64 points. And potentially his last season, he's dropped down to a 77. Oh man, this is painful. He also wears number 77, ironically, but Miles Clackson, really underrated player. His plus-minus obviously hasn't been great, but I really hope this isn't the end for Miles. If it is, it's going to kind of suck, but at least we have guys that can jump up into the lineup like Jansevsky or Leeson, that type of thing. Leeson had 40 points this year, so that's pretty good. He did play on the power play, and he was not getting a whole lot of ice time, so at least we have guys like Leeson that could take over for Clackson if Clackson retires, but still sucks to see Clackson drop off so much. Left wing wise, Bobkov had 65 points this year. That's why I re-signed this guy. He might be not a goal scoring guy, but he's a pure passer, and he's somebody that's definitely helped us out through these years. He's 28 now, so he might be on the decline soon since he was a 6th round pick. Darby, 49 points. Oh my. That's not bad actually based on his asking price. Actually, it is kind of bad based on his asking price, but yeah, Ted Darby's not been that great. He's definitely dropping off production-wise, and maybe that's why he was asking for not too much. But since 82 points, he's not been that type of player. He's kind of a high asking price in terms of money, but it is what it is. Vico hit 39 goals this year without power play time, I think, too. Yeah, barely getting any ice time, so I feel like I should really get this guy more ice time, but I mean, I don't know. He's still got 3 years left on that long contract that we gave him, but yeah, maybe I should throw him on the power play. I don't know why he's not on the power play. I thought the game would automatically put him on it, but he wasn't on the power play this year. So I'll probably throw him on the power play for the playoffs. Jansevsky had a good year as well, 46 points for him. A little bit less than his rookie season, but still, he's been a pretty solid player. Lee Gamble, 36 points. That's decent for his second season or first season, one of the two. Sabrin, 11 points for the Enforcer. Right wing wise, Glenn Cross had 35 points and 24 goals. That's not bad. That's his best season yet, so that's nice. Defensively, Danner hit 70 points this year. Did Danner win himself a Norris finally? That's why I re-signed him as well to what he was asking for, because I know this guy can put up points. 70 points and a plus 16. That is really nice to see. Hopefully he has a good playoffs ahead of him. And then Bouwmeester hit 59 points this year. Bouwmeester is a late bloomer as well, point production-wise. He's going to want way more than $10 million, I think, this offseason. So there is a chance we end up losing him. But he's all of a sudden turned out to be a really solid offensive guy from the blue line. Howe is 19 points plus 13, pretty good for the youngster. Klepp is 18 points and a plus 25 for the youngster. That's pretty good for a season. Tulipov 17 points plus 10. That's also a good rookie season for him. And Smith Pelly 15 points and a plus 22. Love the stuff from the young guys. Good defensive stats and some solid offense too. Goalie-wise, Pusher was not that good. Not that good. An 894 and a 3.14. Well, Novikov was the better of the two. I still might start Pusher for game 1 of the playoffs, but Novikov might be the guy to run in the playoffs again this year, because it seems like Pusher's been kind of struggling as of late. Like, his last 2 years haven't been that good, but we've been a playoff team both of the times, so yeah, it might be Novikov's net in the playoffs again. Let's take a look at player stats across the entire league, see if we end up having any award winners potentially. So Clarence Lange led the league in points with 105. Him and Lukowicz and Jacobson all had 100 points, but nobody else did. Best goal scorer this season was Magnuson in Chicago. The former franchise guy, he is dropping off quite a bit now. Him and Tuomainen both had 55 goals. Then Lukowicz with 52. Ricardo Hartnell finishes 4th in goals with 50, so he came close to winning Richard this year, but he didn't end up doing so. So there's that. Selke candidates, probably Clarence Knighty, right? Probably Clarence Knighty. Let's see. Charlie Guerin, actually. Yeah, Charlie Guerin. 56% on the draw, 150 takeaways. Likely him or Clarence Knighty. Probably him, though, because Clarence Knighty had less takeaways, worse face-off percentage. But yeah, it's likely going to go to Charlie Guerin, the Selke, this year. That's my guess. So there's that. Best defenseman for points was Devin Lawrence. Never mind. No Norris this year for Danner or for former defenseman Morgan Denny, who's been a crazy guy since leaving us. Devin Lawrence, 79 points and a plus 33. This guy left the Dallas Stars and had the best year of his career with the Nashville Predators. This guy hasn't had a lot of time to play the playoffs, so he's going to get some chances now. But he's making a big load of money, $17 million. And then you have Morgan Denny, our former defenseman, who's won multiple cups now. He's also making around the same price, but he's only an 85. But yeah, Danner came pretty close to winning a Norris this year. And former defenseman Boris Zikov also up there. And Olli Herikala. What is this? Literally, there's 4 guys that used to play with us, or 3 of them used to play with us. 1 still does. And they were all up there for the Norris. Herikala all of a sudden broke out randomly. And then also you have Jeffrey Bomeister here too. Shows how good we've drafted defensively over the years. But yeah, Olli Herikala, I don't think I ever saw him picking up that much amount of points before, but he's been in Vancouver quite a long time. And he's still there for 1 more year at $15 million, so he is going to be a pending UFA this year. Likely he will head to free agency. And then yeah, Boris Zikov, 70 points this year. He's also a pending UFA, so there's a chance that we might be able to bring one of them back this offseason, depending on our cap situation, and if there's retirements and all that type of thing. And then I think Morgan Denny is still signed, yeah, for a few years in Florida. So there is that. Best goaltender in terms of wins this year, Teemu Pettinen in Nashville with 46 wins. Most shutouts, Christian Schulz in Vancouver. Best save percentage by a starter, Pettinen in Nashville with a .916. And best goals against average by a starter is Pettinen with a .239. So Pettinen's definitely winning the Vezina. Any goalie goals? No goalie goals. Most goalie assists was Shing in Colorado with 5. Pettinen had 4 though. Damn, that Pettinen guy's pretty insane. Yeah. Wow, okay, that's interesting. He played 2 years in Nashville, went to Columbus for a year, then returned back to Nashville. But yeah, this guy's like the, I guess like Saros and Pecorine. They seem to have a good thing with Finnish goaltenders there in Nashville. Best rookie this season was Toivonen with 61 points in Calgary. Charpentier up there with 55. Viterel. Interesting. So there is that. Now the question is, who are we playing in round 1 of the playoffs? And then that'll be it for this episode. Is it a team we could beat? I hope we could win a Stanley Cup this year, but if we don't, we might suffer some big retirements. And oh no. We're taking on the Calgary Flames, who apparently didn't have that great of a season, but we know they have the franchise guy and those 2 guys that were up there in points during the regular season. So they might have like one line that does really much of their offense, but still. The Calgary Flames are a dangerous team, even though they went 45-37 technically. Let's take a look at their stats from the season, and then we'll take a look at their players on their roster. Just do a little comparison regular season-wise. Let's just go Western Conference and make it a little bit easier. We finished second. They finished in 7th place. They scored 3.29. We scored 3.67. So most of their offense must come from that top line. Their defense was worse. Ours was 312 to theirs 324. Damn, I can't talk. Our power play was a little bit worse. Theirs was 20.3%. And penalty kill wise, their penalty kill was better. So they have better special teams is basically the difference. Which I think we're going to make some changes to our penalty kill and stuff like that. Or not our penalty kill necessarily. Actually, maybe our penalty kill because it was pretty bad. But our power play as well. I want to put Vico on the power play. So I'll probably do that after I finish recording this episode. And then fill you guys in at the start of the next episode. Okay, I can see why that top line did really well. They signed Melvin Lowry in the offseason. And he had 90 points. And then you have Clarence Knighty, who's the good two-way defensive guy. He had 105 points this year. And then you have the franchise 96 overall, Joel Lukowicz, who has been insane. He's well over point per game in his career. And he's also not had a lot of playoff experience, but he's over point per game in the playoffs too. So that's a scary top line. Second line is also really solid. Tommy Newman, who's an 89 overall, former 5th round pick. Yeah, he's pretty solid. He's not a huge point-producing guy, but still 89 overall is no slouch. They also have Kulikov and Toivonen, who we saw was up there for Rookie of the Year. So yeah, the top 6 is really good. Third line, Justice Winchester, run a name, Sammy Tikkanen and Bryson Reisner. And a fourth line of Louis Desbiens, Marco Niemi, and Clifford Estopoulos. Yeah, that's a pretty good forward core. That's a pretty good forward core. The center depth is definitely a little bit weak after 90, but still, they're able to put up points, and that's the main thing. Defensively, Gaspard Bissonnette. They also have Theo Foote, so the great-grandson of Adam Foote, likely. Another defenseman, which is kind of funny, too. They also have Dallas Dexter, cool name, Zachary Madsen, David Durapos, and Hanyu Kolimainen. Not our former Kolimainen, but a former Buffalo Sabres one. So that defensive core is pretty solid as well. It's a little bit weak, but I mean, these guys that are 80 overall, 79 overall, they're listed as roles with top 4. So it's actually an okay defensive core. And in goalie-wise, they have Gilbert Potvin, maybe some relation to Felix Potvin, and also Gabriel Murley. So a good 1-2 punch in net. Depth-wise, they have Ethan Hainsey, Terrence Gagliardi. I remember this dude from way back, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I think I remember this guy from way back when he was in Chicago. I don't know. I think we played him in the playoffs a couple times. Maybe also with Seattle, actually. Yeah, it's probably with Seattle that I recognize him from. Yeah, this guy's pretty solid. He did drop off quite a bit, though, but he was a former high-up pick-ish. And then, yeah, Ville Teravainen is their other prospect that is scratched. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough task for us, probably. With us playing against a team that was much lower seeded, but actually has a better looking team, I'd say, on paper, at least offensively. Like, I'm curious on what the overall ratings are. Let's just do a quick comparison overall wise, because I'm curious if we have the better offense or they do. So we have 92, 84, 84. They have 93, 87, and I didn't see what the other one was because it moves way too quick. 83. So yeah, we're just better goaltending wise. They're better offensively and defensively. So we'll see if we're able to beat them, but we might end up getting cheesed since they were a lower seeded team. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 1 against the Calgary Flames as we look to maybe have our one last chance at winning a Stanley Cup. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.